Hebron is home to the Cave of the Patriarchs, where Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their wives are buried. Hebron in Hebrew and Al-Khalil in Arabic both come from the root word meaning friend. But that's far from this city's image. At times it's been a hotbed of terrorism, but that's not the whole story. Yishai, this is the area that has been described as a ghost town. Everything is boarded up, closed down. Why?
In 1994, it was decided by the Israeli army that they had to close the stores. There's still Arabs living here. What was happening is that terrorists used the mass of people that was walking here to hide themselves and to perpetrate attacks. Now, it's not a beautiful sight, but the Arabs that had the stores here were moved to the much more Arab part of town. They were compensated.
Yishai Fleischer is spokesman for the Jewish community here.
And there's always two wars. There's a physical war, and the physical war was stopped. But exactly where the physical war was stopped, the narrative war was created and started. What do I mean by that? Well, I deal with a lot of media here. And what they want to do is they want to capture one shot here. The Israeli army next to closed stores, and if they could catch a kid with Jewish side locks, then they have exactly the story, which is the settlers are using the IDF, the Israeli army, to ethnically cleanse Hebron.
Climb to the top of this building and you get an entirely different view. Stretching for miles, Hebron houses about 200,000 Arab residents. As the most prosperous city in the Palestinian-controlled West Bank, it's also home to about 1,200 Jews.
Here, for example, is what some of the propaganda that an organization
Ghost town, Israel's separation policy, forced eviction of Palestinians from the center of Hebron. That's not true.
Well, it's true on one street, right? One tiny little street. But the rest of Hebron is actually the wealthiest, most successful of all Arab cities here, one of the most successful cities in the whole Middle East.
Are there businesses here? Big business?
There's 17,000 businesses and factories here. In fact, this is an ironic truth. Basically, there's 5 billion shekels of exports from Hebron, from Arab Hebron to Israel every year.
Even with the commercial ties, relations are mixed. The Arabs that live here don't want you here.
There are many Arabs who think that way. Those are those who have succumbed to the jihadist ideology. Yeah. It's important to know that there are many other Arabs who think that the Palestinian Authority is corrupt, that jihad is not good for their kids, that they don't want this life. They don't want this life for their children, and in fact see Israel as actually a great vision for their future.
One aspect often ignored and even denied is the Jewish people's ancient connection to Hebron.
That conflict is over who's got rights to this land, who's going to hold on to this land.
Right, and Hebron goes back biblically how many thousands of years?
Well, it goes about 3,800 years.
38.
And the whole book of Genesis gets sealed off here in Hebron. When Jacob is dying down in Egypt, he says to his children, don't bury me here in Egypt, bury me back in Hebron, where Abraham and Sarah are buried, where Isaac and Rebekah are buried, and where I buried Leah.
The story is under the building. These stairs that we're looking at are 4,500 years old?
But this is really 700 years before Abraham. And Abraham is going to walk up here and he's going to negotiate with the Hittites to buy the tombs of the father and mother, actually a cave at the field at the far end of town. Our enemies understand the spiritual significance and the anchoring of this history to our peoplehood. So their whole effort right now is to somehow undo that connection. And one of the ways that they have done that is with the usage of international organizations like UNESCO.
2 years ago, a United Nations agency declared the cave an endangered Palestinian heritage site. What's the future? What do you see?
There's a big question about what's going to be the future of the Palestinian Authority. There used to be about 100 years ago something called the Jewish question. Now we know the Jewish people are back in Israel and they're going to be in Israel. I think now there's an Arab question. What's going to be with the Arab peoples? Are they going to figure out a way to deal with their cousins, the Jews? Or are they going to keep calling us occupiers and foreigners and going to continue this 100-year war, which has not really fared very well for them? Because I think the Jewish people are here to stay.
Scott Ross for CBN in Hebron.